handicrafts of Goa have a special place. However, the crochet in particular make up the heart and soul of these handicrafts. The craft of crochet came to Goa with the arrival of nuns and missionaries in the 15th century. Since then, the craft of making crochet items has been passed on from one generation to other. Joana Monteiro, our today's MOG Sunday speaker, has been on the receiving end of this art, learning crochet from her mother. Her mother was instrumental in creating love for needlework, as she would utilize her spare time in embroidery, knitting, crochet, tatting, and much more. Joana has specialized in textiles and clothing from Goa College of Home Science and become an educator for higher secondary in the vocational stream of commercial garment designing and making. Presently, she is teaching in a school and wants to promote different forms of needlework among children to keep crochet alive. Over to you, Joana.
Thank you, Mansi. First of all, I would like to thank Heta Pandit and Dr. Subodh Kerkar, who have invited me for this MOG Sunday to talk about crochet. Before we move on, let's go on to know a little bit about the history of crochet. According to Ruthie Marx, what you and I call crochet and what people in France, America, Italy or Spain call as crochet is called haken in Holland and workning in Sweden. the origins are not very well known. But according to a traveler and crochet expert, Annie Porter, the modern art of true crochet as we know it today was developed during the 16th century. It became known as crochet in France because croche was a word meaning hook in French. It was also called as chain lace initially in England. Another writer and researcher, Lise Paludan of Denmark, puts forth three interesting theories. That crochet started all the way in Arabia, spread to Tibet and then to Spain and to the rest of the European nations. The second theory is that the earliest known crochet was seen in South America. And the third is that in China, there were dolls which were made of crochet crafts. A great many sources also state that crochet has been known as far back as the 1500s in Italy and was known as nuns' lace, where it was worked by nuns and mostly it was for church textiles. Prior to crochet, there was a form of embroidery practiced in China, Persia and North Africa known as tambour embroidery. We will just try to play a video here. I want you to just have a look at how it was done. The fabric was placed on a tight frame. They had a special loop which was passed. The thread, the working thread was kept under the fabric. With the hook, the thread was pulled up. As you can see here, it was turned around and the next stitch was taken. A similar kind of embroidery was also done in India. The Ari work, what you may have heard of in India, Zardozi, beadwork, they also use hooks which use these type of loops so that chain stitch is produced, or also you can work with beads or other things which can be other embellishments on fabric. Another craft called knoll binding was practiced in South America. and it was also worked with a special needle. It was not a hook, it was a needle, but this needle was not used on a fabric. The stitches were done directly with the help of loops, and the thread was passed through the loops. So it is understood that crochet was started from these two basic crafts which were prevalent before crochet started. And when you look at knot binding, it looks somewhat like the knitted or the crochet products which you may see now. It is still prevalent now also. Many forms of handmade laces were practiced in England, such as bobbin lace, tatting, needle lace, etc. Now needle lace, as you can see, needle point lace, it is also called as Venetian lace. It is to the right here. Both these things look a little similar, but needle lace is just worked. Sometimes the base is used, a ribbon is used, and then you work with the needle and thread. It is very time consuming. What you see on the left here is Irish crochet. Now Irish crochet was developed to imitate needle point lace because it was much faster than needle point lace, because working with needle and thread, though it was more intricate compared to crochet, Irish lace was introduced early in the 19th century, where motifs were made separately. You can see like small flowers which are made, or little curves, structures here on top. These were made and then they were joined together, giving a netted effect, so that with crochet the work which was accomplished was much faster. It would take about 1/10 the time to prepare the same size of lace which was prepared. Now between 1945 to 1950, Ireland was affected by the Irish potato famine. During this period, Irish workers, men, women and children were organized into crochet cooperatives. When the Irish emigrated abroad, they took their crochet skills with them. Eleanor Rigaud de la Branchadienne, well, I don't know if I'm pronouncing the name correctly, is known as the mother of modern crochet. It is said that the first book of printed crochet patterns was printed by her in 1848 when she was just 18 years old. And she has to her credit about 72 books which she has printed during her lifetime, all on crochet patterns. Crochet is magical. It changes your mind, your attitude and your mood. Let us come to Goa now. The craft is believed to have been introduced to Goa by the Portuguese nuns in the 15th century. But in Goa, along with crochet, other European art styles or embroideries were also propagated. People used to do tatting, needle lace, different kinds of embroideries, mostly brought by the European missionaries to Goa. The nuns mostly did crochet for church garments and worshippers' clothes, for decorative elements. As you can see here, this is the church garment. The priest wears this during Mass only, and that is the offertory table where the tablecloth is made of crochet. Crochet is at the heart of every Goan. Our home is where we like to express what we feel, what we think. In every Goan family, the women and children, maybe even as young as 8 to 10-year-olds, used to be taught crochet and other needle crafts. And all these were displayed in the homes, right from the doorstep. If you have seen torans hanging outside the doorstep, then you go to the sitting room, you have curtains. Now here there is a piano cover. Then as you move ahead in the room, the bedroom may have the bedspread or the bed canopy. Can you see the bed canopy on top which had a border of crochet? You may have dressing table sets also which were crocheted. Crochet was also seen in the dining rooms and for different other articles. One thing about crochet is that you don't necessarily make only flat things. Crochet is so versatile, you can make any kind of three-dimensional figures also. Afterwards you can just have a look. There are small flower pots which I have a basket which is made there of crochet, just to show, just as an example. Baby dresses, children's dresses, stoles, saris or dupattas, crochet can be just used anywhere. The most common crochet lace every household will have is a sizable round pieces. These may be made of wool or cotton thread. I will just show you one. Something like this. Different patterns, different designs, different sizes. What you can see here on the left, this is a traditional custom. The next day of the wedding, especially here in Bardez, they have the custom of distributing sweets to the neighbors. What the bride side has given, the sweets are distributed to the neighbors. At that time, the whole group, it was very difficult to get pictures. We all have wedding pictures, but these pictures are very difficult to find. So while they are distributing, all of them go with the trays with the sweets on it. Everything is covered with a crochet cloth. You can see on top here, girls used to learn crochet, and at the wedding time, crochet or all other embroideries, there was a display of all the artworks which were done, so that people could see what this girl has been doing. Before marriage, all these were displayed. I remember when I was young, once I went for this display of somebody's trousseau, and they would never show what they are doing. All the collectibles were only displayed at the wedding time. They will try to learn different kinds of craft, different things. They will never show. And when it is displayed, and even if you want to know how the things were made, different kinds of embroideries, like they would try to get it, but they would not show. They would not share their knowledge with others. What you can see down here is a plate which usually during San Juan festival, if you have heard of 24th June, we celebrate that festival. From the bride's side, a tray of mostly fruit comes to the home, and that also is covered maybe with crochet. And at the back, can you see a little cross which is done there? That is also made of crochet. Crochet has become a handicraft which is very well known in Goa. Besides the other lace making, it is easy to do. Now those who may not have tried it might wonder how easy could it be. I'll come to that a little later. It is easy once you learn the basic stitches, and you can work with different kinds of threads. I will just show you the intricate work how they used to do in the past with very fine thread. This is done with very, very fine thread, and can you see this? It's very fine thread which is used. And you could also use wool which was thick to produce. Now the time taken for a big piece like this, but if the pattern is same and the time taken with fine thread, the time would be the same. This has become a cottage industry, and it has become very common among people. There are clothes also which are made of crochet. today which are even, crochet is even sold mostly at Aparanth, Goa, handicrafts. They are promoting artisans. Besides that, there are even private organizations which have come together to promote this craft, and we need to teach the young generation so that we do not let go of this tradition which has been a part of our cultural heritage. Whether it is for Diwali, Ganesh Chaturthi or any other occasion, this cloth is important because everything that was displayed on the tray was covered with a crochet cloth. I was given to understand recently that even when they bring the Ganesh idol to the homes, it is covered with a crochet cloth, and when they are taking it for immersion from the house, it seems it is covered with crochet cloth. I am sorry I was unable to get these pictures for you. Play around with materials, color and stitches. Everything is allowed in crochet. What you need for crochet is just thread and hook, but the size of the hook depends on the size of the thread that you use. You can have a closer look at the hooks which I have brought. Now there is one here which is very fine. Can you see? It's very fine. This is for the fine thread. Then you have this one which can be used for wool. Can you see? It's a little thicker. And here, this is a priceless possession which I have given by my grandaunt. It was made by a carpenter. It's a wooden one which can be used with strips of cloth, as thick as strips of cloth, and they would use this to make rugs. Maybe they were used for the, sometimes you have the cane work which is done for the chairs, and sometimes people feel a little uncomfortable. So rugs were done which used strips of cloth which were used made into crochet. We can use different types of threads as well. Now here I have here with me, this is dolly type of thread. The thickness, this is not as thin as this thread. My sister just told me that the thin thread which they used to do crochet with earlier is not even available in Goa anymore. It was size 40 thread. It was very, very fine. The normal one which we use now is this thickness. It's called 20. You can even use any shining silk thread, silk rayon shining thread, and you can also use wool. I have just shown you one example of a crochet thing which is done of wool. I was just saying that crochet is quite a simple craft. Now I have displayed a few things here around for you to see. Basic stitches are 4. Only 4 basic stitches that you need to know. The first one is called the chain stitch. You just have to pass one stitch through the other. It's a continuous loop which is formed. The second one is a slip stitch. Now once you want to make a circle, you need to join 2 parts. So you just need to pass one thing to another. Now while I am saying it, it sounds a little difficult to understand. I will try to demonstrate with the wool a little later. Then you have something called as the single crochet to make little thicker stitches, and the fourth stitch is a double crochet or a treble crochet. It can go on according to the length of the stitch that you require. There are crochet patterns with the combination of these stitches called popcorn pattern and things like that, which are incorporated in many different designs. But just with these 4 stitches, you can see all the work which is displayed here, just 4 stitches that you need to learn. and rest is all imagination. The colors that you use, the type of yarn that is used, everything depends on what you want to achieve at the end. Now, few patterns which are developed. First one is the mandala pattern. Mandala is a circular pattern. Now, here you can have in the mandala pattern different colors which are used for different rows. Now, you can see in these two, like the pattern is having a flow of different colors. There is a at regular intervals the colors are repeated. It all depends on how each one wants to express. Then we have the granny square. This is just a pattern, a square pattern, and usually the borders are straight. Granny square, in granny square the borders are straight of the square motif which is formed. With this, there is a variety which can be produced. It can be a flower in the center with the border which is turned into a square. There are different ways you can do this granny square, but joining will be the same because it's a straight line. Then we have the pineapple motif, which is also very common, and again you can use this pineapple motif for different things. It can be made into a square, it can be made into rectangles, ovals, different shapes, but that basic design will be followed. Here also you can see the pineapple design here. Okay, is it clear? And filet crochet. Now, what you can see this side, this is filet crochet. Filet crochet is nothing but net, and some places are closed with extra stitches which are made there. And if anyone has any crochet design, cross stitch designs, all these can be made into filet crochet. So, here there was another type of embroidery which was done, filet embroidery, where a netted material was taken, big square netted material was there. It used to be stiff like canvas, it was starched, and they used to pass ribbon and create a design. So, wherever they needed to cover the area, they would pass ribbon through it. Sometimes a cotton ribbon or sometimes a satin ribbon was passed through it, and from that they started with this filet crochet. So, filet crochet, again I told you, you need to know just the chain stitch and the double crochet stitches and the slip stitches. So, very few stitches that you need to know, but you can create a lot of things with it. Here you can see a rug which is made of crochet. I was just telling you about using strips of fabric. Basically in Goa, people never like to waste anything. So, if it was old clothes, whether it was old clothes, any kind of either linen, anything, they would just cut it into strips. If it was not good enough to be handed down, the clothes were not good enough to be handed down, they would cut them into strips and make use of it in this way. They were also doing patchwork and other crafts, applique also, where things which were not used much were cut out and used. So, here we can see that people never wanted to waste things here in Goa. Today, since crochet pattern books are easily available in the market, whatever we have handed down, like sometimes families used to have certain patterns which were handed down from generation to generation, but now since there are pattern books available, it has become very open. Though crochet is common among youngsters, for various styles of fashion, a new trend of crochet style gaining importance is amigurumi. Now you must be seeing a lot of these in the market. Yes, and some of them like to collect things. Well, I have not tried it. It takes a lot of patience, but it's just again the same stitches. It's just that single crochet what I was talking about, a lot of that. So each row of stitches, okay, it's very small, so it takes a very long time. One of my students has started she takes orders. You can make small dolls like this. She makes small things for even keychains, and she has made a big plushie like a big cushion, okay, and she had got an order even from England. So a big plushie for a child. All that is possible because different threads are available. You get something called as t-shirt yarn, which is very thick. So you can, the thicker the yarn, the bigger the lace which is produced for that much of time itself. Today it is very important that we teach our children. The next generation has to continue with crochet. Now in the late 90s, I don't know if you remember, have you seen this type of cloths? This is ready-made. And in the 90s there were many people who preferred buying these because these were cheaper than buying something of crochet. It looked neater, but whether it is neater or cheaper, only the one who values the worth of crochet knows its importance, knows how much the value is. When a person is doing crochet, he is not doing it as work. For him, he uses his time. I would say she uses her time, and when she uses her time, she puts in her thoughts, her expression, her mind, her love. And that is why I have called this knots of love. So people who love handmade will never look for any replacement like this. But for some time, these mostly, I think they were Chinese made, I think so, and they were readily available and cheap. If you have to buy something of crochet, you have to place your order much in advance, or there may be some places which may have things already ready for you. But if you want the tablecloth of that size, if you want your altar cloth of that size, you need to place your orders. So it is not easy to get it. It is very time consuming, so it may take 2 months, 3 months, depending on how fast the person can complete the project. So now I would like to come to how I started with crochet. What I have displayed here is mostly my mother's work, my aunt's work. Everything has a story. When I look at this, actually I wanted my mother to come, but she just had a fall few days back, so I couldn't let her come here. Every time I see any of the crochet things, I remember how she would sit near the window. She had one small, that potli bag, which she had made out of her own dress, so it was matching her dress for some time till she was using the dress, and that ball of thread was inside, and she would sit there crocheting. Not that she did not have any household work, and you know, at that time when they did not have house help, they did not have washing machines and mixers and things like that, no electrical gadgets. In spite of all that, whatever free time she had, she would spend not only with crochet, with other things also like tatting and things like that. But mostly crochet was easier to handle, so much so that sometimes she would keep the rice to cook, and she could even walk doing her crochet, like, because from the bedroom where she was sitting to the kitchen there is time, so she didn't want to even waste that time. This is part of what came as my trousseau, and I have 2 more sisters, so the trousseau was ready for all 3 of us while we were still in college. So she has worked hard to create all these things. What you can see there is a sari blouse, which was hers, of course, and that dress was worn by my sisters, myself, and even my daughter while she was young. So these are more than 40-year-old things, and which are still good. in very good condition. The quality of threads that we had also was commendable. Now every holiday in our home, it was like a mini cottage industry. I was just, some of you may have seen what I was doing. Kohinoor thread used to come like this. It was not a ball of thread, and you cannot do crochet with this. We used to get in a packet. Now you get it already as a already wound up, but it used to be like this. And for us, either we were doing crochet or things like that, or for all these projects we had to make balls of that. And not just the three of us, our neighbors, our friends also used to join us. The thread was kept on the chair and we had to, now we didn't like to stand and do it. So our dining table was big enough. We used to sit on the dining table, put this thread on the chair and try to wind the balls. It was entertaining. We would talk, sing, whatever, while this thing was going on. Along with three of us, my mother and two of my aunts always used to sit and do all this. Every holidays, my mother used to try to do different things, teach us different things. And every time, for our clothes as well, she would try to decorate. Sometimes it was embroidery, sometimes it was painting. One year it was smocking. She had the patience to do smocking for the whole waistband for the skirts. Unfortunately, once we outgrew these skirts, we never knew things would last so long, and we gave them away. We don't even have pictures of those. Anyway, so dear friends, as I come to a close of my short presentation about crochet, I think you have lived through centuries. I have taken you through centuries, how different crafts led to crochet, and crochet as an art, a handicraft which is being practiced here in Goa. I have just said that only people who value what crochet is will not fall back on the price they have to pay. I told you this cloth looks very small, but I do not know how these things which were available, these were, I don't know if they are still available now, but they are rather cheap. I don't know how it's done. And we always thought that crochet is, since it was cheap, we thought it was machine made, but it is not. There is no machine to make crochet, because I was trying to check out, there is no machine. I am not sure, but knitting, there are machines for knitting. There are machines for knitting, but mostly crochet is handmade. So whenever we go to buy any handicrafts, remember there is lots of love, and when there is crochet, remember it is lots of love. Thank you.